So what is your process when you go in to do an inspection?
Right. When I do an inspection, I walk into the customer's house, I introduce myself, I let them know what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I want to take measurements inside and out. I want to take elevations with this thing I have this yellow machine, it's called a zip level.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're doing is doing a manometer survey. We want to measure the highs and the low points of their house. And we want to make sure to measure the outside. We go based on an engineer standard of elevation. So if it is more than a half inch within 10 feet of drop when I'm doing my elevations inside, then I know there's some sort of problem at their house at this point.
So what you're telling me is, according to engineer standards,
Right.
for every 10 linear foot,
Right.
if you're down a half inch, they consider that excessive settlement.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So once I get done with that, I draw the map. I draw the footprint of their house.
Sure.
I do it right on my computer and on a little computer program I have on my Mac, and I show them exactly where it's dropping around the house, and based on those is where I'm going to put my piers or whatever I'm going to do to repair the foundation.
Piers. When you say pier, what kind of products do you offer to underpin a foundation?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning just stabilizing a foundation or lifting a foundation.
We do two different types of fixes when we're stabilizing and lifting a house. So we'll use a helical pier, which is more like a screw using torque.
Like a corkscrew?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Or we use a push pier, which is, getting driven into the ground hydraulically.
Pressed into the ground.
Yep. And it gets to a bedrock, and we're not always going to hit a bedrock. We just need to hit a solid substance that is going to more than
Sustain the weight of the house?
Yeah, exactly.
Like load-bearing strata
Yeah.
or something like, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
So those are some of the options that our company offers. Let's say, stabilizing a house is pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
When we're lifting a house, what other methods do you have to use when you're lifting a house?
When we're lifting a house, let's just say we're doing the push pier method. We put the piers every 6 feet in the problem areas.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's dropping down here in the corner and we want to start lifting here, there's going to be, once you lift a house, there's going to be a void between the bottom of the slab and the footing
Okay.
and the dirt that it's lifting. I've done houses in the high desert that were down 9.5 inches.
Wow.
And we lifted that thing, I think, almost 8 inches.
Wow, that's a lot.
And then, so imagine something that's down the corner 9 inches. So we're lifting it up. We have to inject this dual component polyurethane to fill that gap, between the dirt where we lifted from and the bottom of the slab.
Because you don't want any water intrusion,
Nothing.
ants, insects,
Nothing.
rodents. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
I mean, I would say 90% of the customers that we do, they do want it lifted, but some of them just want it stabilized so it doesn't happen anymore.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things you look for when you walk into a customer's house after discussing their problems?
Yeah, the main thing is to listen to the customer.
Yes.
So I just let them lead me around and just have a conversation with them. So based on that, since they live there and that's like their biggest investment, of their lives, they know what is going on. So then I pinpoint it. So if they say, oh, this door isn't closing, so I'll start looking around and see if there's gaps between cabinets or baseboards or, diagonal cracks by windows and doors inside and out. Normally the people living there, know this house really well. A lot of them have, lived there for 10 years, 20 years. Some are investors, and there's a lot of real estate, transactions I deal with as well. But normally that's what I'm looking for. And then after I listen to them, then that's when I start all my measurements inside and out, notating where all the cracks are and taking photos.
You say measurements inside and out. The measurement you're taking on the outside perimeter of the house is just kind of to scale, square or linear footage wise.
Yes.
Right? You're drawing like you said, actually just a model of the house.
Yeah.
That way all your dimensions are accurate with your pier placement. On the inside of the house, now you're drawing interior walls also, because that's kind of important when engineering's involved in permits, not so much permits but engineering.
Right.
They need to know maybe roof structure, take a lot of pictures. Now your interior, your inside measurement, what does that consist of? What are you looking for?
Well, I'm just looking for the number. The main thing is the elevation drop. That's the number one key. And the one very important thing that a lot of people don't know is if a whole house was settling, you wouldn't know it.
Right.
If
everything would be almost even.
Everything would be almost even. So this is all based on expansive clay soils underneath the house, poor grading, maybe
compaction problems.
Maybe that's just a normal construction problem.
Sure.
So a house, you're taking those elevations, so you're going to have a higher elevation on one side of the house, and where it's having its problems, it's going to drop to a lower elevation. So you're going to repair those areas. Like, say we have this here. This is the house. It's going to dip like that.
Okay.
And then there's hinge points where it's dipping in the house, where you're going to see the cracks, and that's normally what I'm looking for. So then I do my repair plan. I draw the exterior of the house, the utilities, the interior of the house, where the different load-bearing walls are, which are holding up the roof structure, and all these things are important.
Okay. Now, it's kind of difficult to even see cracks a lot of times, because people will have tile, carpet, whatever kind of flooring. So a lot of times you can't see these cracks.
No.
But sometimes you can feel them, can't you?
Yes. Yeah, I've gotten into a couple situations where people were selling the house and they were trying to cover it up.
Oh.
People move a couch over a crack.
Oh, wow.
Or they'll... One key thing is when someone's selling a house and they put new carpet down, that's always a red flag to me.
Is it? Yeah.
Because the fact is that people hide things more. People aren't as honest as me. I've realized this in this business.
I'm an honest guy too.
You are too, but I realize that people, I come into this world sometimes where I think that people are very honest and, forthright and have a problem lying to people, but
not all the time.
Unfortunately, we're in this business, and there's some shady investors that just want to flip a house and not do anything. So when there's new carpet, when someone's going to buy a house, and say the house is very old, and say it's built in the 60s or something, and they have new carpet or whatever, it's kind of a red flag to me. So I'll concentrate more if I feel more carpet padding, trying to cover a crack.
Sure.
Or they stage it to where they move a couch. I've had all these situations happen, and I tell the person buying the house, make sure you get access to pull that carpet so you can see the concrete slab. Because I've looked at this house one time where they had the padding, and there was a crack that was over an inch wide, and they were just trying to cover it up. And this thing went the length of a room, and it was an inch wide, and you would have never known if they wouldn't have pulled the carpet.
So an inch wide crack, would that tell you maybe there's lateral movement in the house?
Yeah. So lateral movement, yes. So you're going to, when you talk about lateral movement, you have to look at where the house is in relation to a slope.
Okay.
So we deal with a lot of houses like in South Orange County. Very important areas for us are Laguna Hills, Laguna Niguel, Mission Viejo, San Juan Capistrano, San Clemente. All these areas, and they're all hillside homes.
Yes.
So lateral movement, I've been doing this since 7 years, 2010.
Right.
So I've noticed a lot of houses where you didn't see lateral movement, and then you have to look at other areas like adjacent properties, concrete next to the house moving,
Correct.
a big 1-inch crack inside the house. Then once you start doing these investigations, you start looking and seeing these things, more things start to add up. It's like any type of investigation,
Right.
Right. That's how I treat this. A plus B equals C. This has to add up to that, has to add up to that.
And when you're performing your floor elevation test, let's just call it, where you're doing your interior floor elevation, is this something you invite a customer to engage with you with?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I do both. If the person, I've gone to customers' houses where they work from home and they're literally on a conference call the entire time I'm there. Whether they are engaged with me or not, I always make them engaged with me at the end, to where I explain every single thing. This is what I did. This is what's happening. Or Mr. Jones or Mrs. Johnson, I'm letting you know that I did all my elevations and my investigation, and there's not a problem. So I'm not necessarily going in there, trying to make something up.
Sure.
Based on my elevations, based on the cracks, based on this and that, is what my repair plan is going to be. And let's just say it's just within engineering standards, or if there is some settlement, or they had poor drainage at their place and they can fix that.
Which is a very big problem.
Very big. That's one thing I didn't mention earlier, but
Yes.
poor drainage is, I would say, almost every
That's
single
key.
situation
It's
I
key.
go into. Mm-hmm.